an MSc in dance science, and a master's degree also in arts and fitness. And she's going to talk about the results of a published paper. It's a systematic review and meta-analysis on the effects of physical exercise on Parkinson's disease.
Good evening, ladies.
13 minutes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. In our attempt to add a small brick and improve daily life in Parkinson's disease patients, we conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis examining rhythmic cueing, dance, resistance training, and Parkinson's disease. According to data, as Professor Mouzakidis already mentioned, Parkinson's disease is the second most common neurodegenerative disease, and the number of patients in 2018 was 10 million worldwide, and it is estimated that by the end of 2040 will be 12 million. Quite impressive. Now, what is the rationale? What is behind the curtain? Why rhythm, dance, and resistance training? We know that physical activity and exercise are beneficial, and numerous studies indicated that exercise regulates and in some cases decelerates the disease progression, thus improving quality of life. And we go back into 1973, when Oliver Sacks reported that akinesia remarkably improved when patients danced. And later on, a study on 2009 by Hackney and Edhart reported that when music is rhythmic and stereotyped, like tango, provides external rhythmic beats and probably improve motor parameters in patients with Parkinson's disease. And this was the beginning of our wonderful trip. Taking a closer look, it has been observed that Parkinson's disease patients experiences disruption of rhythm, and practically this phenomenon is related with mechanical movements. Additionally, seems to be associated with this disruption of their inner rhythm. For instance, symptoms of tremor, bradykinesia, walking problems, and in some cases, patients develop a distinctive alteration of speech, the so-called hypokinetic dysarthria. And all the above indicates lack of synchronization and lack of periodization. In other words, what happens in the brain is associated with impaired synchronization of regular and periodical movement patterns. So interventions with rhythmic auditory stimulation that produce speech proved beneficial, especially for walking. And when we talk about rhythmic auditory stimulation, we talk about any kind. It can be use of voice by counting, 1, 2, 1, 2, or can be syllabic, ta-ta, ta-ta, can be a metronome, tick-tack, tick-tack. And we talk about, in terms of music, about 2/4 time signature, which is the rhythm of walking. So the production of regular strong beats produce a rhythmic schema that synchronize Parkinson's disease actions via rhythmic entrainment phenomenon. It seems that basal ganglia is critically implicated in the sequencing of rhythmic stimuli and potentially the feeling of the beat. Given that Parkinson's disease patients display difficulties in performing automatized movement, the use of external cues seems to reduce the dependence on the patient's Parkinson's disease pathophysiology, since movement could synchronize to the regular beat. A systematic review with 1,892 Parkinson's disease patients indicates positive effects of external rhythmic cues on walking parameters. But is this enough activity for improving Parkinson's disease patients' health? Rhythm exists in music as well as in dance, forming the first step towards musicality. Dance is part of human civilization dated back in ancient era. In ancient Greece was used to improve and maintain health, especially in older people. It was also part of basic training in the youngs. Researches in dance and Parkinson's disease revealed positive results, and as it improves cognition, state of mood, and some parameters of gain. Also, it has been found that increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor levels as physical activity does. Also, electroencephalogram studies revealed that some form of dances, such as tango, alter muscle synergy during balance and walking testing. A systematic review with 159 patients promoted significant improvements on motor parameters and functional mobility. Although the neuroprotective effects of dance in Parkinson's disease have not been adequately examined, as there are many types of dances and of course many types of interventions. And now, resistance training. Resistance training seems to be a renowned part of disease prevention and disease therapy. It adverts muscle mass. Gait disturbances, poor balance, force are associated with lack of strength and muscular imbalances. And Parkinson's disease, generally speaking, is a disease of the elderly. And elderly individuals are characterized by sarcopenia. What is sarcopenia? Loss of muscle mass. So instability and feeling of weakness are resultant of muscle loss, and these symptoms may be more intensive at H and Y scales 3 and 4. Therefore, resistance training seems to be safe and feasible exercise at any disease stage, and also prevent muscle loss. A systematic review with 101 participants demonstrated that 10 weeks of strength training improved significantly balance, strength, and motor symptoms. And research on strength and Parkinson's disease, again, is limited with different characteristics, such as study design. So, the problem, what is the problem? The problem was that previous systematic reviews have individually examined rhythm, individually examined dance, individually examined resistance training in relation to Parkinson's disease symptomatology. Also, it is not entirely clear which of the three forms of exercise would provide more benefits for different clinical aspects of Parkinson's disease. So the aim of the present systematic review was to synthesize evidence associated with functional and clinical effectiveness of rhythmic cueing, dance, and resistance training on motor and non-motor parameters in patients with Parkinson's disease. It is anticipated that the findings would form the basis of a new protocol synthesis aiming at improving Parkinson's disease symptoms through the development of more holistic exercise interventions.
Another 4 minutes.
Oh, thank you. The review was conducted according to PRISMA guidelines and was registered in the Prospero. Indicated library pool was PubMed, Medline, Cochrane Library, Sports Discourse. And the review includes 3,767 participants, 993 from rhythm, 1,470 from dance, 1,360 from resistance training. And outcomes were focused on motor symptoms, functional mobility, walking parameters, quality of life, strength of lower limbs, cognition, sleep disorders, and state of mood. And we found 4,833 publications, and we end up with 49. And there was sufficient evidence indicated that rhythmic cueing improves most walking parameters and motor symptoms. Dance improves functional mobility and motor symptoms, and resistance training improves parameters related with daily life and seems to activate cellular adaptive mechanisms that in turn improve muscle strength. So a take-home message is that the inclusion of rhythm, dance, and resistance training present, as the current results have shown, a powerful combination of exercise intervention which covers a wide spectrum of strategic biological functions and which could assist clinicians to entrain the idea of more holistic protocols aiming at improving Parkinson's disease manifestation. Future studies should focus on implementation of exercise protocols based on Parkinson's disease symptomatology and disease duration, and standardization of test protocols. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Any questions? So your initial sample was how many publications?
4,800.
And you ended up with 49.
Yes, 46 was Billy, and we had 3 from the reference list as additional 3.
Excellent. Anything you would like to ask? Can I? Yes, please.
What about how to synchronize these people? Rhythm is very good idea if you give them a base that they feel comfortable in this phase, because it, inner rhythm is different to any even healthy person. Even more people with Parkinson's disease. If you find a comfortable rhythm, I believe that this would help him to get on and have synchronization in his movement. But I don't know how much the effect of external cue would last. It depends. It depends.
Okay, excellent. So eventually, following a rhythm, they're going to follow, and perhaps you have some benefit.
Yes,
excellent.
Yes. Research is shown that this is very good for them, but I don't know how much the effect would last. We can't. Yeah. But I can tell you what. I can tell you that when you follow a rhythmic properly in a healthy, and you dance and you start doing, this effect can last, even more of 3 hours later on. Sometimes we start with the music in our head. It's the same. So
okay. Thank you very much indeed. You're great.